Kids go missing after the first day of school. When mom calls the cops, she gets the shock of her life. Henry and Aaron decided to move to a new city, but their children were not happy about it. Despite this, they moved, and on the first day of school, their kids went missing. Aaron was worried until her youngest finally answered the phone and shared something surprising. Aaron had just started her new job in Hamburg, New York. The family had moved from Pittsburgh because Henry got a great job opportunity. Aaron agreed to the move, even though their 4 kids, Mark, Alice, Julie, and Christian, were upset. They were going to miss an important fair at the nearby high school that they were looking forward to. Mark, the oldest, was a junior and had promised to take his younger siblings to the fair. Everyone in town was going, but their parents' plans changed everything. The youngest complained for weeks, while the older kids were sad to say goodbye to their friends from the summer. The family arrived in Hamburg about 2 weeks before school started, and the kids had accepted that they had to start over in a new school. Henry loved his new job, and Aaron was happy to get a good job offer just before the move. They were excited, but they didn't realize how unhappy their children were. "Excuse me, can you say that again?" Aaron stuttered as Principal Morris called her and informed her of something impossible. She had to stop what she was doing at work and focus entirely on their conversation. "Mrs. Finkel, your children are missing. None of them showed up at school. I waited for them myself," Principal Morris explained, exasperated. No, my son Mark drove them to school. I saw them leave this morning." Aaron had seen Mark leave with all the siblings, but she had no idea if they had actually shown up at school. "Well, I don't know if Mark made it to high school. I can call my colleague and ask, but your younger children aren't here," Mrs. Morris confirmed in a frustrated voice. "I'll make some calls," Aaron said. After a few minutes of complete shock and tense silence, she hung up quickly and dialed Mark's cell phone. He didn't answer. Of course you won't, she thought. She considered leaving a voicemail, but kids his age didn't listen to voicemails. She texted him instead. "Mark, call me immediately. Where are you?" None of her other kids had phones because she didn't want them to be hooked on technology. Maybe that was a mistake, she thought. She had to call Henry. "Aaron, for God's sake, what do you need?" Her husband hollered after listening to his wife's worried explanation. "I don't know where they are. They're not at school. I just got confirmation that Mark is not at the high school either," Aaron said. "I'm going to ask for the rest of the day off. Please ask for one too and help me find them." Aaron got home as quickly as she could. After calling her son again and not getting an answer, she started calling the local hospitals and the non-emergency line to ask about 4 children who could have gotten into an accident or something, but she found no answers. The few neighbors she had met had not seen any of the kids either. When Henry finally arrived, Aaron was in hysterics, thinking of all the worst possible scenarios for her dear children. Henry comforted her and thought deeply about what to do next as he continued calling Mark's number. They gave up for a while, and that's when Mark finally called them back. But it wasn't Mark, it was Christian. "I stole Mark's phone and hid it. Mom, Dad, we're 170 miles away from home. We skipped school to go to the fair. It's really fun. Come join us. Gotta go, bye," their youngest said rapidly before hanging up the phone. They knew not to call again because no one would answer, but Henry and Aaron looked at each other in utter consternation. They had gone back to Pittsburgh because of that fair. It didn't seem reasonable. They got into their car and started driving. It would take more than 2 hours to reach their old hometown, but they needed to scold Mark for being so reckless and get them back to Hamburg. At first, Aaron and Henry were fuming. They talked about punishments, hard chores, no electronics, etc., but their anger died down on the road. By the time they reached the fair, they just wanted to reprimand the kids gently and take them back home. They first spotted Julie and Christian playing at the fair. They decided to keep their distance and stay a few feet away where the kids couldn't see them. Their youngest children were competing in a game with water guns. Julie won a teddy bear, and Alice was behind them, cheering with some friends. Aaron watched her kids having fun and realized she hadn't seen them smile like that in months since they moved. She turned to her husband, and he nodded quietly. Soon, Mark joined them, bringing cotton candy and wearing a big smile. That's when Aaron said to Henry, "I think we made a mistake. I know this job is good, but this place is their home." She spoke honestly, even though it was hard for her. Henry had always believed that his decisions were the most important, Erin supported him, but now she wondered if they should have listened to their kids. She wasn't sure how Henry would respond. "I think you're right," he finally said, and Erin felt tears in her eyes. She kissed his cheek and motioned for them to join the kids. When the children saw their parents coming, they looked guilty, expecting to be yelled at or punished. Instead, Erin kissed each of them and said, "Let's go get some hot dogs." The kids were surprised, especially when their usually serious dad added, "and some funnel cake." That night, Erin and Henry mostly talked to Mark about his actions, but they were no longer angry, so it was a gentle conversation. They stayed in Hamburg for a while because Henry had a job there. But a year later, they moved back to Pittsburgh so Mark could finish his senior year in his hometown. From then on, they made sure to consider their children's feelings in their decisions. Share this story with your friends. It might brighten their day and inspire them. Here's another heartwarming story about an elderly lady who can't believe she has visitors after years of being lonely in a nursing home. When an elderly lady had lost all hope of seeing a visitor walk through the nursing home's gate to meet her, she was surprised by something unexpected. The woman wasn't prepared for what happened that day. As people grow old, many of them end up in nursing homes for various reasons. Some children leave their parents in nursing facilities because they can't look after them anymore, while others unwillingly have to trust a nursing home to care for their parents. Having no one around during the last few years of your life can be traumatizing for many people. Feelings of loneliness can build up, affecting their mental well-being. Today's story also revolves around a woman who had been living in a nursing home for years when life surprised her with something unexpected. In 2019, an elderly lady moved into Carlisle House in Kettering, Ohio, unsure of how long she would stay. The nursing home staff and other residents welcomed her warmly. At that time, no one knew she was a big soccer fan. 2 years later, the cheerleaders from Kettering Fairman High School noticed her watching their soccer games from her window. They waved at her during every game while she cheered for the Firebirds team, happy to know someone else was supporting them. Although the elderly lady had white hair and seemed happy, the cheerleaders later found out that she was lonely and mostly talked about the soccer games she watched. She often shared how she cheered for the Firebirds with other residents. After learning about her, the cheerleaders decided to visit her. They asked the staff for permission, and the staff agreed to let them meet her in the parking lot. Excited, the staff told the lady that she had visitors. At first, she couldn't believe it because no one had visited her in a long time. As she walked to the parking lot with a staff member, she saw the cheerleaders in their blue jerseys standing in front of her, and her face lit up with a big smile. She was thrilled to meet the high school girls. After all the cheerleaders greeted the woman, they presented her with gifts. She was delighted to receive a cowbell, a pair of pom-poms, and a white t-shirt that said, "My favorite cheerleaders call me Grandma." At the end of their brief meeting, the cheerleaders said they would visit their grandma again and promised to wave at her during every soccer game. While the cheerleaders helped this elderly woman battle loneliness, in 2021, people in Italy called the police after hearing their elderly neighbors cry. Scroll down to read what happened next. In 2016, an elderly couple living in Rome was heard crying by their neighbors, who immediately called the police for help. When the officers arrived at their house, they discovered something unexpected. No one had broken into the couple's home or hurt them. 84-year-old Joel and 94-year-old Michelle said they were crying because they felt lonely. No one had visited them in a long time, and watching the news about what was happening in the world had saddened them. The police team posted about the couple on Facebook, saying, "Sometimes the loneliness melts into tears. Sometimes it's like a summer storm. It comes suddenly and overtakes one." The Italian police's Facebook post about comforting a lonely elderly couple, Joel and Michelle, went viral. Despite their love for each other, they felt isolated and craved social interaction. Understanding their loneliness, the officers entered their pantry and returned with 2 plates of cheesy pasta. The simple meal, enhanced by the officers' kindness, brought joy to the couple. These stories remind us of the importance of compassion and connection for the elderly. Having visitors can uplift their spirits. Have you ever felt lonely? Did someone help you through it? We'd love to hear your experience. I hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.